Welcome everybody to our Ocean Coastal Resource Management Speaker Series. We are really excited here to have Miss Veta Wade, who is the founder of Fish and Fins and is a consultant for sustainability in the Caribbean region. And I had the pleasure of speaking with her a couple months ago and thought she would be a great speaker for our series. You know, the Caribbean is, has a lot of really interesting issues. Obviously, huge climate change impacts, Puerto Rico and other islands getting routinely in the path of really pretty astronomical storms that's only expected to get worse. Has a lot of the issues of small island developing states where really dependent on a few narrow realm of industry. And obviously, maybe, Veta, you could talk to us about what COVID has done to the kind of tourist economies of the region. But some just really interesting sustainability issues, cultural issues. The Caribbean's quite diverse, a lot of islands, a lot of different governing structures, a lot of different cultural contexts. So without further ado, Ms. Veta Wade, thank you so much.
Thank you for the fantastic introduction to the topic and for having me as well. I really appreciate that, and I'm so pleased tonight to be speaking to all of you. Right, so just to give you a little bit of a background to myself, I'm from the little beautiful Caribbean island of Montserrat, which is where I live and I work from. It's about 10 o'clock here tonight, so you might hear the crickets in the background, but let me see if I'd ask everyone to put your videos on. Okay, I thought that was a message coming to me. But so yeah, I'm gonna present to you for about half an hour or so, and then we should have some time at the end to discuss and ask any questions that you might have. So in regards to myself and the work that I do, just to give you a little bit of context, in Montserrat is an overseas Caribbean, overseas territory of the United Kingdom. So it is, it's still a colony of the UK, and we are positioned right next to Antigua and Barbuda, Guadeloupe, and St. Kitts and Nevis. So if any of you have visited the Caribbean or familiar with the Caribbean, you might be able to have a little bit of understanding as to where I'm positioned. We are an island of 4,500 people, and we also have an active volcano. So in 1995, our volcano, which had been dormant for many years, became active again. And in that whole process, I was evacuated to the UK, where I was practically a volcano refugee. That's where I did my college and university and so on and so forth. In 2011, I decided to come back to Montserrat, my home, and be a part of the redevelopment process. So the island, which was around 11,000 at best, pre-volcano, dropped to a population of 4,005, which is about where we're at now. And in returning back to the island of Montserrat, I spent a lot of time with local fishermen. And, pretty much they're the only folks I can find to go swimming, diving with, and so on. And I was really incredibly astonished by the knowledge of our fishermen. They taught me a lot about the ways of the ocean, species in the sea. And this was very new to me because I grew up in the Caribbean, believe it or not knowing how to swim or not being engaged in the marine environment, as one may expect that most Caribbean people who live on tiny, beautiful islands surrounded by turquoise blue sea and incredible coral reefs would know how to swim and would be able to dive and do all these fantastic things, but I didn't. And I wanted to be able to share a lot of this with our local community as well as our tourists and visitors. And so I started a tour company, eco-tour business called Aqua Montserrat. And Aqua Montserrat would actually, we worked with local fishers and did tours. So we did eco tours, coastal tours, things such as lionfish hunting, So taking visitors across our coastlines, across our reefs, catching lionfish, grilling it on the beach, and all that type of fun stuff. I really wanted to ensure that our island was being shown to our visitors and our tourists in a very community way. So you actually can experience Montserrat through the eyes of a local person. And I really was very interested in providing additional income to our local fishers. And so, yeah, for those of you who might not know, lionfish is an invasive species of fish in ocean space here. They don't have a natural predator. So the only way to control and manage lionfish populations is by, we've had a whole big campaign here, eat them to beat them. So local fishers will catch and sell to the restaurants in the Caribbean, restaurants on the islands, usually at a higher price than traditional reef fish. And that helps to manage the populations. They can breed up to 40,000 eggs a week. And if left unmanaged, they can cause a complete collapse of the marine ecosystem. As you know, we're already battling with climate change, ocean acidification, pollution, all sorts of different things. And lionfish is just another one of these threats to our marine space. So we were doing a lot of sustainable and ecotourism with local fishers. And I want to just quickly share with you a little bit of a video of the work that we do on Montserrat to give you a little bit of context as to what I'm talking about, and also to introduce the program that I started within 2 years of returning back, which is Fish and Fins. We started a program here to teach children how to swim, snorkel, and protect our ocean space. And I'm going to just quickly try to share my screen.
Hi, my name is Veta Wade. I was born on the tiny island of Montserrat. Living on an island, the ocean is of course very special to me. Fish and Fins is a kids club that I started to get the children of Montserrat engaged with the sea. We teach them how to snorkel, how to swim, and really to just understand what's happening in the oceans around them. People protect what they love. Our mission at Fish and Fins is to inspire awareness and respect for our ocean. We are creating a generation of ocean leaders that will do the right things to preserve and protect our ocean's future.
Yeah, so that's a little introduction to this project that I have on Montserrat. It's a registered nonprofit, and it has been the heart and soul of my work over the past 5 years, really. Now, on top of all of that, and in between time, I have been working as an independent consultant with NGOs across the Caribbean. And as well as on Montserrat, I've partnered with institutions such as the Wade Institute and built a number of very strategic and key collaborations with organizations such as, Brown University and Google Moonshot. We had one of their scientists be part of our STEAM festival last year on island. And things like that. I've also been working with as research support, and also in terms of community engagement as a consultant around oceans and inclusiveness, and most recently for Blue Economy scoping. So we're currently doing a Blue Economy scoping project, which is being run by the United Nations Development Project on Montserrat, or development program, I should say, and that scoping is being done for the island of Montserrat, which is the island that is my home. And I've also been working on other sort of assignments with regards to the potential of the blue economy for some of the larger Caribbean islands, such as the Bahamas and Jamaica, Guyana, and so on and so forth. So that gives you a little bit of a context with regards to myself and the work I've been doing. And I noticed Rachel kindly put in the chat a paper I recently wrote in regards to the Equitable Caribbean Blue Economy. As you can imagine, I have been completely immersed in this work over the past 10 years. And in particularly over the past 5 years, I've been really trying to figure out how myself as a person and as a Caribbean citizen can do more for my community based on doing the work I love and the knowledge I have gained, and also trying to be very conscious about the work we do in ocean conservation and awareness. And I'm going to share my screen again to begin the presentation, which is not too long. And you know, if you have any questions as we go along, please put them in the chat or the question and answer as well, and I'll be sure to get back to them. So I'm going to share my screen again so that we can go through you know, the rest of the presentation, and I'll share with you some of the things that I have learned in consideration of the blue economy for the Caribbean. And also I have tried to really make this presentation very practical in terms of the practical opportunities and advice, recommendations that I might have based on not only the paper I wrote, but also my own sort of frontline experience working in not only climate resilience and in sustainability, but also with regards to the blue economy. So let me go ahead and just quickly share this again. And so really, what has been very impactful to me in looking at the work that I have been doing is we can teach children how to swim and how to snorkel and fall in love with the marine environment and coral reefs till we're literally blue in the face. But if we cannot show the children of the Caribbean, and I'm sorry about the spelling mistakes here, I did this in a bit of a rush. So if you cannot show the children of the Caribbean and their families in economically poor communities how this equates to decent jobs and career opportunities, then we have not made a big enough impact. And for me, this really comes right back home to the blue economy. You know, yes, we can show, we can engage communities and engage young people, but in a part of the world where poverty is very high, a lot of people don't even have internet access. You know, we have many different challenges in the Caribbean region. Then in terms of the social and economic priorities, the conservation is really not considered to be the biggest priority. And I think that's part of the reason why we see not as much engagement from and amongst the Caribbean community in regards to even championing climate action and so on. There's a lot of work that's happening in the region to innovate and to build climate resilience, but it's slow. And when you look at the conditions within our social conditions within our communities, then there's a lot more work to be done. And so that takes me to the blue economy. And I'm seeing the blue economy as a solution, and a solution as to how we really go about innovating, building resilience, creating jobs, and ensuring that
is to inspire women of ocean leaders that will do the.
Sorry about that. So yeah, you know, it is to me one of these solutions with regards to how we create a better way of life for our communities. And those of you on this course, I know, are very familiar with the blue economy and the World Bank definition of the blue economy, which is considered to be a standard definition that we also accept and work towards within the Caribbean. And the World Bank describes the blue economy as the sustainable use of ocean resources for economic growth, improved livelihoods and jobs while preserving the health of the ocean ecosystem. But as I've analyzed this in the context of my own work and experiences, I believe what we need to really be looking at is the equitable Caribbean blue economy, and using this context, this backdrop of the global picture of what a blue economy, is considered to be, and trying to really build this around a Caribbean context. And we've had a number of inter-Caribbean development organizations, such as the Organization of the Eastern Caribbean States and so on, who are really working to build the narrative and the policy and that sort of network around what the blue economy is to the Caribbean. What we're really missing, however, is the grassroots connection to what the blue economy should be. And when we talk about trying to achieve things like economic growth, improve livelihoods and jobs, it's very critical that we engaged from the get-go the people who are meant to be benefiting from this. And so I coined this concept of the equitable Caribbean blue economy to relate to our context here in the Caribbean. And yes, it can be a model that can be adopted by any small island developing state, or as we call them now, large ocean states, but and also territories. And the term really means a model for community-led governance that supports justice and sustainable development for all. So yes, at the high levels and technical advice levels, policy, we have a lot of work happening with the around the blue economy, but still it's in its early stages. And the equitable blue economy model and framework really works to engage the grassroots and to ensure that the grassroots and the more vulnerable communities of the Caribbean are part of the conversation. And so I have made that a considerable amount of my work at this particular time and stage of my career. So the equitable Caribbean blue economy builds a more diverse and inclusive relationships to contribute to solutions for the future of our ocean. And I say that because when we talk about the ocean space for the Caribbean, I'm looking even beyond, I'm looking at this diverse and inclusive relationships and recognizing that if we are to achieve the aims of a sustainable blue economy or even an equitable blue economy, we need to really ensure that this space is as diverse and inclusive as possible, that our key stakeholders are in fact the community, the most vulnerable within the community. I'm talking, women and girls, talking about youth, all of these different sectors and area and groups within small island communities must be engaged, especially as it comes to the blue economy. And why? Because we're in a very unique time, and this time for the Caribbean is going to be is historic. We are the most tourism dependent part of the world. COVID has shut down tourism completely. Significantly, I wouldn't say completely, because there are a number of different initiatives where the islands are banding together to create travel bubbles where you can visit. But again, we have seen considerable hits in our in tourism sector. And so in the face of inequity, remembering that a significant amount of the Caribbean are still in poverty, and there's also a significant amount of underinvestment within the Caribbean, despite our push and development of a tourism sector. That tourism sector has not really borne the fruits that I think the islands would have hoped for. The globalization of tourism has meant that we have had huge investments, but still that money comes in and then goes straight back out to the more developed world. We still have a lot of very, very low paying and menial jobs within the tourism sector. And so we're standing at this unique point in history. And it's an opportunity for us to really redesign the social and economic future of the Caribbean, and certainly to make it a bluer future as well. I think this gives us a huge opportunity within this rising wave of blue economy opportunities within the region, where we have islands now setting up ministries responsible for blue economy. Antigua have done it, Dominica have done it, Grenada, Barbados is one of the leaders with regards to the blue economy and setting up structures and systems to support this. And so this is a new opportunity that I know the Prime Minister of Barbados, for instance, Mia Mottley, has been quoted as saying this is a new frontier for development in the Caribbean. And yeah, our people are beginning to wake up to see that the sea is more than just a beautiful place to party or to to enjoy, to holiday to, but it also provides opportunities for social impact. Now in the paper that I wrote, one of the key recommendations that I had in regards to how we achieve an equitable blue economy was really to do with water safety, learning to swim, being safe at sea, being able to develop this life skill, I believe is critical and hand in hand to training of ecology, so learning about the marine environment, and innovation. We are seeing a number of business initiatives or incubators, accelerators to try to nurture the creative space and the innovation space for the blue economy in the Caribbean. And in many cases, I know even from my island, for instance, we are not seeing a great take up to those opportunities. And I believe part of the reason why this is happening is because as a community, there's not a huge percentage of people who are immersed in the space. And you could imagine, in order to be able to create or innovate or think up big ideas or any idea at all in terms of a solution to a threat that's being faced within our below water and in our ocean space, then it goes a long way to be able to swim, to be safe, not scared of the environment, and to get up close to coral reefs, to get up close to the marine animals that live within. And so I think a very big part of how we unlock opportunities within the Caribbean for collaboration and for development of an equitable blue economy is by ensuring that all sectors of the segments of the community and stakeholders are vulnerable in the community, those who are not from the privileged backgrounds, etc., can access swim lessons, can get these life-saving skills, can then be able to enjoy a marine environment. And in the Caribbean, for instance, we are now going through a period of preparing to revise our regional curriculum. And I know there are some efforts, even on our island, to now start to relook at how we can engage the outdoors and the environmental aspects of our beautiful environment into the curriculum. And Barbados, again, being one of the leaders with regards to blue economy and blue space, they have said by 2030 they expect to have all of their primary school children swimming. Again, this is something we would like to see for more Caribbean islands. So when we talk about why, so you might ask why equitable collaboration? Why is that important? And to that, I would respond to really address how our communities prepare our youth for the future of work. Again, because of COVID and other such challenges, preparing youth for the future of work is incredibly key. Everything has changed now. The digitalization of not only education, but services, etc., especially within a context where we're still in some islands and in some communities, especially some of the inner communities, we haven't even as yet got full connectivity to internet and Wi-Fi and so on. So looking at how our communities are preparing youth for the future of work, we also need to consider that we don't want to be competed with by NGOs and large academic institutions or squeezed out of our own markets and communities. So equitable collaboration comes into play here again in terms of how can we equally partner? How do we support each other on an equal footing? And this again rings home very true. If you've had a chance to read Colonial Science by Asha DeVos, you would have seen her talk about the issue of colonial science. And for instance, in situations like now, we've had COVID and travel bans left, right, and center. We have seen that many projects, research projects and initiatives on the ground in the Caribbean that are managed and led by international organizations or international academic institutions and NGOs have ground to a standstill as research scientists and advisors and consultants have not been able to get into the islands, etc. So it's another reminder for us all that we need to build the capacity within the local communities and to do so as equal partners, to see that the skills, training, and knowledge is equally shared. And this goes both ways too. So, so one of the questions that comes to mind again is, does every international NGO need to have its brand in the Caribbean, or can they partner? And this again is as we look into the challenges of climate change and the opportunities within the marine and blue spaces within the Caribbean, we do expect to see a lot more international investors and partners and so on coming into the Caribbean. But this is indeed a huge opportunity to really consider what equitable collaboration would look like in terms of creating social impact within the Caribbean region. And so I wanted to also highlight some of the opportunities that may exist within a blue economy within the Caribbean, and how these opportunities could really expand your own personal networks. So there are various opportunities in which individuals like yourselves, master's students, professors, and just really interested community members who are keen to get more involved in either climate action or blue innovation, then opportunities to collaborate in the Caribbean, especially in supporting the grassroots movements, would be towards things like grant application writing and administration, running programs, youth mentorship. And the blessing is now that we're all online then it's not difficult for us to be able to connect like we are tonight, and reaching out to organizations, grassroots leaders, etc., to figure out how can we help, how can we give this type of support. And so elevating the grassroots voices and groups, again, I think this actual event tonight is a great example of what equitable collaboration could look like. I don't know how many academic institutions around the world right now will be speaking to somebody like myself, an advocate, a grassroots leader, a civil society leader from the Caribbean, and really helping to elevate their voice and to give more exposure, and to expand a network. These are indeed examples of the equitable collaboration that I'm referring to. Other opportunities to expand your network is to really just treat people equally, treat people fairly when it comes to equitable collaboration. That's all it's about, treating folks the same way you would expect to be treated, especially too when it comes to pay. Now, in terms of sectoral opportunities for collaboration, we have a couple of sectors that I thought it would be useful for you to keep your eye on the radar, and they are Sagassum products. And for those of you who might not be aware of Sagassum seaweed has overwhelmed beaches throughout the Caribbean. We have seen an overgrowth of Sagassum. Some scientists are saying it's to do with the use of chemicals down in the Amazon basin, farming runoff. Others are saying it's to do with the warming of ocean temperature and the overgrowth of the Sagassum seaweed. Whatever the root cause of it is, we have been inundated since I think it's about 2017, with Sagassum washing ashore, causing some harm and overwhelming coastal ecosystems and the economics of coastal ecosystems as well. We've seen a tremendous amount of hotels, for instance, in the Caribbean region, which are accustomed to having pristine, beautiful white sand beaches, white, pink, powdery sands, then being inundated by Sagassum seaweed. So what's actually been happening there is we have been looking at what products can the Sagassum be used for. So how do we create business opportunities from cleaning it up and repurposing it? Some folks in Jamaica, in Barbados, have created soap from the Sagassum. We also have a company based in St. Lucia called Algos Organics, and I can put all this information in the chat after this presentation. And Algos Organics have produced fertilizer from the Sagassum, and this fertilizer now is being exported not only throughout the Caribbean but also to international organizations, or international partners and companies as well. Sea moss farming, another seaweed that's actually used in the Caribbean as a sort of like an aphrodisiac and health superfood. It's been made into drinks, etc., and sold in regional markets. Work and research has been ongoing in regards to how can we better farm sea moss. Another opportunities, these are low-lying fruit type of opportunities, as the Caribbean looks for quick wins. We need to start creating jobs And the biggest hit sector is the tourism sector. So looking at blue tourism, science tourism, conservation tourism, are all different areas within the blue economy and emerging sectors, which are worthy of keeping your eyes on. So another one of these practical things we can do with regards to the Equitable Caribbean Blue Economy is investing more into local communities. So really strengthening the power within communities to organize and to mobilize, supporting grassroots leaders who are really tackling climate and ocean inequalities, and pushing for progressive and transformational change from the ground up. As you could imagine, in small societies like ours, a lot of new ideas, innovations, especially with regards to climate and the blue economy, are dependent really on political will. And if we are to really look at driving forward opportunities that can really have positive community and social impact, then the grassroots and community level organizations and individuals are really going to be key. So asking ourselves, are these really important leaders? Are the leaders in the island communities, do their mission align with yours, your personal mission, your career mission, your organization mission and goal? Do they need your support? Ask them how can you help? And it all sounds like, you know, just like common sense things, but sometimes these are the things we take for granted and are still very important. This human contact of really acting, doing, reaching out. And again, getting uncomfortable. When we're talking about building equitable collaboration around the blue economy, around new innovations, new science, new technologies, a lot of this work is dependent on international support. The Caribbean, as a Caribbean region, we cannot do it ourselves. We are reliant on the expertise. Sometimes the mentorship, sometimes the resources. So it's important that international organizations consider truly how do we go about building these types of partnerships. And getting uncomfortable is really is another key one. And you know, working with grassroots leaders at times requires getting uncomfortable. I know my working with fishers have been uncomfortable. I've had times where fishermen have really cussed me out, like told me about myself, for, you know, suggesting that they shouldn't catch turtles or they shouldn't hunt sharks, or being conscious about the plastic pollution situation. And some of these conversations are very uncomfortable conversations, and we are required at times to be vulnerable. And establishing shared values again is another important point, because establishing shared values is really quite important in terms of how we work together as a team. Recently, I founded and kickstarted a Blue Economy Conference, and it's called the Caribbean Blue Economy Conference. You can check it out online. We're soon to put up replays and highlights from Saturday's event. And I myself was thinking about, you know, teamwork and shared values. And we worked really hard over 6 months, not knowing, I didn't know any of these folks before 6 months ago. And some of the values that came out of that experience in creating this new business and this new community is forgiveness, commitment, openness, transparency, love, compassion, and empathy. These were some of the sometimes uncomfortable moments that came to the fore when dealing with building bigger teams and communities of like-minded people who you want to work with to push forward, progressive work. So creating a space for everyone to really listen and understand the different perspectives without judgment. We all have our unconscious biases, and it's important to really have this transparency and this willingness to really listen and understand what our differences are. And also find the similarities at the same time. So it's okay to say, and I wanted to put this in because I felt that we all, once we get into, some of you might be having your own business, some of you might be going on to do further studies with other big companies, international NGOs, you might find yourself in the Caribbean or elsewhere in the world. And in key management and senior management positions, sometimes we have to stand for something. And in regards to really building out the concepts of an equitable Caribbean blue economy, I put this here because I wanted to share with you from my own experiences, etc. It is okay to say, I will budget to pay my interns in the islands, or I will budget so that my partner organization in the islands can pay their volunteers and pay their interns. I will budget to pay the project leader in line with what we pay internally. I will ensure my project is representative of the community it serves. I will ensure my project has budget for training and certification of grassroots leaders and youth. I will budget to create opportunities for our board members and directors, for instance, to form authentic relationships and bonds with grassroots leaders. This space to really create fun relationships and meaningful relationships is not one to be underestimated. And so collaborating outside of our circles and seeking to, well, this went a little bit too fast, but collaborating outside of our circles and seeking to include diverse and inclusive talent into our products and into our services. Again, another example of what we are doing here today is collaborating a little bit outside of what might be, the norm. And all that matters really, I believe, in terms of creating the equity and the collaboration around a blue economy and new blue ocean opportunities, whether or not it's renewables, pharmaceuticals, coral restoration. What remains very key is our people. And I think a lot of the times when we communicate the challenges that our ocean faces and the need for innovation, or our challenges on the front line of climate change, it really is that the marine environment, the ocean environment, marine animals in this space takes priority. And I want us all to remember that the people who are on the front line, whose livelihoods and they have no escape, are equally as important and very key in terms of the work we do for creating the opportunities. By providing the jobs, improve livelihood, and protecting this environment, it's serving all of our purposes in terms of providing a healthier ocean environment. So yeah, caring about our people sufficiently to just really be the change that we want to see in the world. And the Afro-Caribbean Conference, for instance, is building an invaluable resource and network for equitable collaboration in the blue economy for the real actionists, future leaders, students, and educators, especially within the Caribbean, and also in a collaborative way with individuals from across the world. And you are welcome to get involved with our network as well. You just need to email us at info@aquacaribbean.org. And I just wanted to share this quick sort of like closing video, clip from our event on Saturday, to share just some of the folks that I worked with collaboratively. It's not their pictures, but just to give you an essence of what we did. This was a group of black and brown folks who had never worked together before, and I was able to bring them together. Folks who came from very diverse backgrounds. So even though we were the same sort of like minority group, there were actors, there were UN war journalists and business consultants, etc., that had never actually done any work within the ocean space. And so again, when I talk about diversity and collaboration and inclusiveness, it's very important to also consider diversity of skill and talent. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks so much for listening. And I think I talked a little bit more than I should have, but I'm open to any questions that you might have.
Great, thanks so much. Rachel, do you want to go kind of with the cue here?
Yeah, so I have Natasha, you are up first. Natasha, you are up first and you should now be able to unmute.
Okay, now I can, yeah. Hi, thank you so much for coming to talk to us today. I really enjoyed that. I was interested, I wonder what your take is on the fact that the islands in the Caribbean are so exposed to weather and climate change related events. How does that change the approach in achieving a sustainable blue economy? And I had a second question, which was, how has the situation with COVID created issues in strengthening fiscal resilience to natural hazards?
Yeah, the COVID strengthening fiscal resilience to natural hazards is still early days. It's still early days, and I think as a region we're still trying to map out our recovery plans, and these sorts of assessments and what we're calling sort of like task force are being put in place. I'm actually on one for green energy on my island, and we are actually in the process of putting together a proposal of how we can accelerate to green energy, of course, to free up some of the monies that we're spending on fossil fuels, and to become more self-reliant. This proposal is due to be shared with the British government by early next year, at which point it will be considered for funding, and also we will be in a position to consider even international partners and investors. So this work that I'm doing here in Montserrat is being repeated across the island in terms of creating pathways for building resilience to COVID, and also seeking to find alternative financial opportunities and fiscal support. The other question you said is about how viable is the blue economy, because we're so prone to, you know, weather conditions. And it's a good question. It's a really good question. I think that is probably our biggest opportunity in terms of the blue economy, because we are small enough to be a testing ground for a lot of initiatives and you know, petri dish concepts with regards to the blue economy, and that makes us attractive, because if you're going to trial, say for instance, smart technology for growing coral, then you can test it in your hometown, maybe in your tub, or if you have a lake or something. But if you're going to be using this technology in actual tropical coral reefs, you need to be in that environment. And so we would expect to see a lot of interesting innovations to do with the blue economy coming into the space, and using the Caribbean almost as a petri dish projects. There is one such project currently in the Caribbean. I think it's a company called Biosystems, and they are seeking partners within the Caribbean for testing wave energy, right? So this, you know, it's already been tested in Puerto Rico, and it's also been tested to its resilience to storms, so the system can be put up and take down within 1 week. And if you're going to sell this on, then we need to showcase that it's also helped communities. It's been socially impactful. It's resilient to storms. It's resilient to the environment and so forth. So we're a good petri dish testing ground for blue innovation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't have another question at the moment, but I had a comment from an attendee who I think she's had to go. Ali wrote that her family back home in St. Vincent and the Grenadines farms and processes sea moss and even exports it to the US. And so she left her LinkedIn account. If you or any of the students are interested in her work, she mentioned as well that she does transboundary work in the Grenadines in St. Vincent and Nevada. And so if anyone was interested in her sea moss work or her mapping work in the Caribbean, she left her email in the chat. We'll get this to students. And at this point then, no further questions. If anyone wants to popcorn, unmute yourself and jump in, go ahead. Or Jason, if you have a comment you'd like to end with.
Yeah, let's just open it up here. Any other questions from the audience? Well, if not, I think you know, Veta, it's late for you, so we'll let you retire for the evening here. But it was really great to get such a great breadth of overview of all the projects you're working on, and the real emphasis on kind of community engagement and equity. I think is a really important perspective, and I'm glad that the students got to hear it. So thank you so much, and good luck with all the work. I'm sure me and you will be in touch offline here on email as we continue some of this blue economy work together.
Yes, you're more than welcome. It's been my absolute pleasure, and I've just put some links in regards to work that's been happening in Sargassum. I think that the Sargassum networks and hubs in the Caribbean are worthwhile keeping an eye on. Okay?
Outstanding. All right. Well, great. Everybody, thanks for coming and have a great rest of your night.
Okay. Stay blessed, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.